And European stocks fluctuated on Monday morning as investors digested the rising coronavirus death toll. But let's find out what are the major headlines are driving the markets today with Chelsea Delany. Good afternoon, Chelsea. Today, Germany opened its first airport coronavirus testing center, and you were there earlier for the opening. What did you learn?
Well, as you said, this is the first of its kind in Germany, and it's also coming at a really crucial time for the country as Europe prepares to reopen its external borders. So we are gearing up for more international travel and just in general, a lot more air traffic. And that, of course, brings a lot of concerns about how this will impact the spread of coronavirus, both here and abroad. I think many people understand the concerns about potentially spreading the virus to loved ones if we travel, or about contracting it ourselves. So this is really an effort to bring a sense of security to these people who are traveling, and also allow for more international travel. What the clinic we saw today is like it's a walk-in clinic, so you sort of just go in and you have a swab, and you can get your results, depending on how much you're willing to pay, between 2 hours and 8 hours. So this is one of the big downsides of this test, is that you do have to pay for it. It can cost 59 euros for a test that can take 6 to 8 hours. That is a significant amount of time to wait. Many people would have to get that test done the day before they fly, or you can get a fast-track test, which would take about 2 to 3 hours, which still would require you to get to the airport about 2 to 3 hours early, which most people probably don't want to be doing. So that's obviously one potential stumbling block for this effort, as well as the fact that it's voluntary at this point. So you don't have to take it; it's optional, and you would have to pay for it yourself. So this could really make it more difficult for people to take that test, and that could also mean that it's less likely to be as effective as people are hoping for it to be. So it is a big step for Germany, but it's not necessarily at this point going to be a widespread effort, or something that's being adopted in every airport by every traveler.
But Chelsea, this is coming as the EU prepares to reopen external borders this week. So are we likely to see travel start to pick up back?
It's going to pick back up, and it already has started to pick back up. We've seen numerous airlines beginning to add more flights into their routes. For now, it's mostly been within Europe. Some of these European airlines, like EasyJet or Lufthansa, are now running about 75% of those routes again. But now that external borders are set to reopen on July 1st, it is likely that we will see more international travel. But there obviously, it's not going to be 100% back to normal immediately. Even when these external borders reopen in a few days, it's only going to be to a select group of countries, excluding some really important countries like the United States that account for a large proportion of travel within the EU. So we will see a lot of countries not included in that reopening. And of course, as we've talked about, there is still going to be hesitance and anxiety about traveling for many, many people for the foreseeable future, even with things like the testing center. Many people likely won't feel comfortable traveling until there's a vaccine, which could take many, many more months. So for now, we are seeing a slow ramp up in travel, but it's still likely to take many months or potentially years to get travel back to where it was before.
Now, let's talk about stocks now. Of course, they're under pressure as coronavirus cases continue to rise. But what's the outlook from Frankfurt?
Traders here are certainly watching these numbers very, very closely. Here in Germany, there has been a bit of an uptick in cases in the past few weeks. There were a couple outbreaks, especially large ones stemming from a slaughterhouse in the northwest of Germany. And that obviously created a lot of concerns. We did have to see lockdown measures reimposed in some cities. It does appear that Germany has gotten its own coronavirus outbreaks in those areas under control. We've seen a steady decline in the number of new infections. So that concern has certainly eased, but for the broader landscape, this remains a huge worry for the global economy and for everyone really in the world. We've seen, as you mentioned earlier, a huge increase in the number of deaths, and we've seen cases now surpassing 10 million. So in other countries, it doesn't seem to be as in control, and we are seeing a steady rollback and lockdown measures being eased. So that will have an impact on the global economy. The question now is just how quickly these countries like the United States that are seeing a second wave of infections can get that under control, because that will really determine how big of an economic impact that will have.
I guess the coming days will tell. Thank you, Chelsea. See you again tomorrow.